Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. Clement Otis, Daddy loves you. All right, shout outs to our sponsors, Indosol and Tectonic Coffee, raddest sponsors ever. I'm so stoked. I know the owners, the founders, they're the most beautiful humans in the world. They've got ethics at their core in all that they do, and they're trying to make a difference. So go to the Indosol website, that's www.indosol.com. Use promo code THT at checkout and you will get a discount. You'll be supporting Indosol in their mission to save the planet, and you'll be supporting the show so I can keep producing weekly episodes. Same with Tectonic Coffee in LA. Go to www.tectoniccoffee.com. Use promo code THT and you will get a discount as well. Both companies ship worldwide, so get on it. Ethical and conscious purchasing, boom. So, Kristyan, are you ready, brother?
Hey, good evening. Good evening.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Kristyan Stjerne. Kristyan is a surfer, yogi, captivating artist, muse, and purveyor of good vibes and kindness. He beams. Kristyan was a previous guest dating all the way back to episode 51. We recorded in the dark by the cliffs of Uluwatu in Bali on the evening of Nyepi, the Balinese New Year. Moreover, this was literally a couple of days before the industrial and commercial world broke into a pandemic of hysteria in which world leaders seamlessly capitalized, closing borders, applying curfews, and imposing social distancing regulations, all under the cloak of a necessary new normal. Enmeshed with little resistance from a fearfully obedient, confused, face mask wearing and hand-sanitising public, the result for many being economic ruin, loss of livelihood, mental illness, family breakdown, poverty and starvation at global levels not seen before. All while a mainstream media monkey rides joyfully on the back of it all. Today, Kristyan is with me to check in, share his experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Kristyan Stjerne, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's another honor to be here with you. 2 times backed by popular demand. Here we are.
Totally backed by popular demand.
How you been, brother?
Man, I'm so good. I am really good. I feel like a rebirth is happening in my life. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Not much has changed, and just been cruising. Same vibes than the last time I saw you. I have a pretty simple existence over here. You know, it's not too complex. Doing the same thing. Just been surfing a bunch and painting, making art, and working on my health a little bit, and just flying.
When you say working on your health, like what aspect of your health do you feel needs working on?
I'm in the middle of a liver cleanse right now that I've been doing for the last I'm on week 3 here of a 4-week liver cleanse, and
nice.
It's been really nice. It's been really good to just kind of clean out the tubes and the pipes and flush out the inside section. And it's been really nice. Every once in a while I'll do these cleanses and, give the body a little cleaning for all the hard work and all the dirty stuff I put in it. Every once in a while I'll clean it out. I've been kind of changing my diet a little bit and tweaking it, and and then doing these flushes to the liver. And it's wild. It's wild.
Like maintenance.
Yeah. Like every once in a while, you got to take the car into the mechanic and check the diagnostics and, clean out the oil filter a little bit and, clean up the air filter and put some gasoline in there, some clean stuff, and, make room for God, make room for more spirit, make room for more goodness.
And what does that translate into you?
It's been interesting. I'm doing, I switched. I'm doing no sugars right now, no coffee, no caffeine, like
same.
No smoothies, no juices, everything cooked, nothing raw right now. And
okay.
Just to kind of give my digestive system a little chance to replenish and rest a little bit and move it out. And then every 2 weeks, every 12 days I have like some fruit maybe in the morning, and then I fast all day. And then in the night before I go to bed, I take about a cup of coconut oil with a cup of lemon juice and a little bit of salt in there, and go to bed, wake up in the morning, and it just dumps the pipes out, And
how's it? Excuse me. Sorry.
No, it's been nice. The liver works so hard for us. Everything that goes through our mouth and nose down into our digestive system has to go through the liver. So, you can imagine how much work it has to do to help the body out. So it's good for me, it feels really good to flush it every once in a while,
How's it influencing your thinking and your creative side? Have you got a clear head? Or are you getting fogged?
It's really, really wild. They say anger is stored in the liver. So when you
I didn't know that.
When you flush it, it flushes out all the anger in the body. And so literally I can feel my mental brain and my like how my mind works regrid to the new body once it's been flushed. So I
gotcha.
Something that would really trigger me and kind of set me off, I have a little space from it now, and I really have to be in the now with it, because the old way of working doesn't really apply anymore. It's a trip, the way the physical balances the mental and how they're both tuned in, and two sides of the same coin are kind of the yin yang of each other. And if you use the mental to clean out the physical, then the physical helps release the mental, and they work together in a symbiotic relationship. And spirit gets happy, soul gets all excited. You have like different intentions, different energies, different frequencies come in. It kind of attracts a different vibe. It's really been interesting. I've really been digging it.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You said just before, things that would usually trigger me don't trigger me now, or not as much, and you're able to cope with those triggers a little better. What triggers Kristyan Stjerne? What things trigger you? Give me an example. I've got to know.
It's tough. I don't really, it takes a little bit, like people disrespecting, I work a lot around, especially in Bali, respect is like a really big factor here, things that a lot of respect things are what influence that takes me to a place where I'm like, really, you're going to shit right in the room next to where we sleep, and that kind of thing. And people that kind of know what they're doing and they still do it, that stuff really affects me, where you have to, call people on things and stuff, and I don't really like to do that. And it makes me angry with myself that I even have to do that kind of stuff, to grown adults or to people that, I've always kind of respected my elders. And then where I get confused sometimes is what's being respectful, letting an elder keep doing bad and kind of stepping back and watching it, or are you showing them more respect by telling them, hey, that doesn't feel right for me, when people take advantage of my heart and my my goodwill and kind of use it with no regards for it, it hurts, and a lot of times when I get hurt, instead of getting sad, I get angry, and doing these doing these things, you can kind of see them more like a storm coming in over the horizon, and you can kind of batten down the hatches and protect yourself and do that stuff, as opposed to just kind of being in the middle of the hurricane and not having any way of reacting and acting. You're just fight or flight mode versus, hey, going in and me getting angry is not really, I don't yell or scream or anything. I just like very calmly express myself. And that seems to be the best way for me to get rid of anger,
And feel like you're being honest with yourself?
Yeah. I'm not I get sad more than angry, and so I get real introverted and the heart just kind of goes into defense mode. And I usually just go into my studio or my cave and
isolate,
internalize it, because I don't like to give bad vibes for bad vibes. I like to, so if I can't be in a good vibration, I usually just try to be with myself or not around people.
Wow, man. Yeah. Same here. I do the exact same.
As opposed to just being toxic, like the worst thing I think is an eye for an eye makes everyone blind, So like, I really try my best to, take that, internalize it, run it through the fire and put it back out with the gold,
Yeah. And that was like my next question. Like, how do you deal with those intense emotions when they build up in the moment? So I'm just going to give you an example. If I am feeling heated, something has, someone's been disrespectful, because that's a really big thing for me. And I'm actually quite big on manners. I like to see people use good manners. I don't know why. And I think it's a respect thing, like I can't stand it when someone's rude to a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant. Yeah. I just think it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a long time in my life where I just would act on that emotion straight away. And then of late, I've been dealing with really intense feelings of sadness that just well up in me. And the first thing I personally do is I try to avoid or numb through some kind of behavior. Mm-hmm. Maybe, and even surfing could be regarded as a numbing behavior, as avoiding it. But I've just started doing this thing in the last couple of months where I feel that the emotion well up, and I just stop and sit and close my eyes and actually let it go through my body. And I read a fact that those feelings, those strong emotional feelings, actually only last 90 seconds at a time. Yeah. But when you let your mind replay the situation, it'll go for another 90 seconds.
Oh, it can go on for years, man, for people,
Yeah. So, but the actual feeling only lasts for 90 seconds, apparently.
Yeah, I
So
feel
there's
that.
a bit of a.
I
There's
mean,
something.
it's the, the spirit and the soul are like, they're all forgiving, all encompassing, all allowing, the ego and the victim kind of energy. That's where it gets complicated, and a lot of times people want to get back at people for hurting them, or revenge energy, or like they want to show you how much you got hurt by doing something and prolonging it. For me, I have a way of just cutting ties with energy, and it's still in there somewhere, but I don't give it any power. I don't give it any weight, unless I'm supposed to. If it's something that I need to be a part of, then I'll go into it and work it out with my own kind of consciousness and my own emotions, but if it's something that I feel is the other person's or the other energy's kind of fault or stuff they're going through, then just try to hold a space, for it, and give as much as you can without letting it harm me.
You said when you said victim mentality, can you sort of like elaborate on that a bit? Because I've been thinking a lot about what that means. What's your version of it?
Well, I think we all have energy in us, and around us, and there's a lot, and sometimes when it kind of goes out into other people, or leaches out or spills over, just by being in the same kind of vicinity, or when two energy systems come together and kind of clash, one kind of will usually override the other, or one is more yin, one's more yang, and so a lot of times people play the victim to not have to be responsible for their own energy, and
Yes.
and not, they feel powerless or powerful in the powerlessness of it, so
and safe.
And safe, right? And
they don't have to take action.
They don't have to take action. They don't have to take responsibility, and they can say, "Oh, it's the other person that did it to me," and it's not me, it's them, And so I'm a firm believer of, we attract everything that we come in contact with. We're constantly putting out this energy to the universe. The universe is constantly trying to manifest everything we're putting out. And, so if something comes in that doesn't sit with us, then, I feel it's our responsibility as conscious humans to engage it and work it. And it's there for a reason, as maybe a tool or a stepping stone, or a guide, or, a frequency that needs to maybe point you in a different direction, or a road sign saying, "Hey, danger ahead. Be conscious if this energy continues," and always looking for the signs in it and stuff. But sometimes it can manipulate and fractal and change and morph into a way that it just kind of touches on the cusp of it and doesn't really give you the whole picture unless you go into it. And people can go on for long time in this kind of frequency, and can be years sometimes before you build up enough courage or strength to go in there, and really see what's in there. And it can be scary sometimes, and it can be uncomfortable and emotional, and but I always know that there's good things waiting on the other side of that, when you clear those energies and get good with parts of us. Like when you really come clean with parts of us that we don't really want to see, touch, or feel, there's so much love waiting on the other side of that,
Love for yourself or love from the universe or other people?
All types, right? Like you get universal love automatic the second you do that. When you step into that, universe is like, oh, thank God, we've been like going out of our way time and time again to try and show this to you, and then I feel that's the first kind of like aha, and then the inner reflection is so special when that happens, right? When you replace anger, abuse, anything that's less than love with love, it's like, you feel like you've been fasting for a long time, and then you finally get a meal, and it's your favorite meal, and it's the best meal, and it's the meal that exactly what you needed, and you can feel that energy go into the body, and you start to glow again and radiate, and you attract what you desire, and what you desire attracts you. It's like a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel it.
I was speaking. I was kind of going with a friend back and forth, and she was telling me, love's real tough sometimes. And, like when I get hit with these kind of comments or phrases in real time, I get baffled with them so much that in real time I have a hard time expressing myself. But when I go back and sit and meditate and contemplate the energy and the words, then I can really make sense of them and draw out, the gold from it and stuff. So she was saying, love's tough. And my initial, love's tough sometimes, she told me. And my initial reaction was like, yeah, tell me about it. It's the toughest, right? But then when I really sat and I stayed up late thinking about it, and I was like, love's not tough. Love is anything but tough. Love is amazing. Love is beautiful. Love is all encompassing. Love is special. The ego is tough. The like pain is tough. That is powerful, but love is never tough. Love is incredible.
I got a question for you then. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Please.
How would you define love? If you had to define it in a sentence or two. Yeah,
I don't know if it's something you can articulate into an actual phrase or something. It's everything.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring it up,
that's a hard one. It's
I've asked myself that
thing sometimes. It's a invisible thing sometimes. It's hard, to articulate that into a word. It's for me, it's a vibration, and when you feel it, it, and those who know it feel it. And there's no other way to really, you can show it, it's an action, I think, a lot of times,
Well, the reason I wanted to bring that one up is because previous guest, Gordon Bradbury, he's actually the mayor of the town I live in Wollongong. He's the mayor of the city. But he was also, for many years, a minister in a church, and super charismatic, and he's responsible for being the marriage celebrant of many wedding ceremonies in this town. I think he's married half of the town. Myself included. Myself included. True story.
Nice.
And so he's seen that, and he's also been he's also been a celebrant of many funerals. So he's seen, like marriage and death, and for many people, many ceremonies of running that. And he, in his podcast, just randomly said, gave a definition of love, and it was really simple and really pragmatic. He said, love is intentionally seeking the well-being of another.
Mm.
And I don't know, I know it sounds quite simplistic, but I was like, yeah, is it that simple? Is love that notion of just putting other people's needs before your own? Is that the fundamental of love?
I don't know about that one, man. I don't know about that one. I think I don't know about that one, because there's no needs when there's love. When there's pure love, it's everything, and you don't need needs when you're loved. There's no it doesn't, it's not something.
But is it?
Yeah, it's not something.
But is it a constant? Are you talking about a constant feeling?
Different, it's more of a an action, really. You tell someone I love you, and for example, let me give you a good example. I can count the times my father has told me he loved me on one hand.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You seem well loved, though, Kish.
Yeah, but
you seem like
he does actions that show me he loves me.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And those are countless. Like, I cannot count the many times he has shown me love. And
so every time is he intentionally seeking your well-being?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. But it goes deeper than that. It's more of a, it's like God, it's something that you when you feel it, but when you see it, and when someone has it, but you necessarily can't tangibly do it, or see it or feel it or do it. It's not something that you can physically put in a box or something, but you can put it into a frequency, into something where, anybody can pick up a wedding ring at a pawn shop and put it and be like, okay, this is a symbol of love. But the act of placing a knee on a floor and presenting a gold ring to a loved one takes on a whole different meaning than if you go online and pick out, there's energy behind it, and there's a frequency behind it. And so for me, that's the true meter for what we feel love.
Can love be manufactured?
I don't know.
And do we choose who we love, or does love choose us? I know these are really cliche.
Man, you're putting me on the spot.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not asking you. I don't know either.
These are great.
I'm actually asking. I'm asking myself the question as well.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of confusion, because love's it can be an intense emotion. It can be a very intense feeling, romantically, physically.
Yeah. I think there's different levels,
Yeah, and that's it. Is it something that is are those feelings sustainable through work, or is it just beyond us, and that we are just chosen to be loved and love the ones that we want to love?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, for me, I know it gets very intense for me, love, it's a very intense frequency. And I feel
Does it overwhelm you?
a lot of times it does, and it's debilitating sometimes. Sometimes it's exhilarating. When I'm in love, I don't really eat. I don't really sleep. I don't really know what day it is. I don't know where I'm at a lot of times. I go into these spaces with it, and especially when you make love, it's a really wild experience, and then when you come out of that space for some reason, and you see where the rest of the world around you is, and you go in with one vibration and you come out with another vibration, and you're forever touched by it, and it kind of puts up a bar of what you set the standard for of love. And I think we're constantly seeking that through different mediums, to fill that space within us, the love space, the love bubble, the love supreme space,
Do you think it's born from a fear of being alone as well?
Not at all. I don't think so, because a lot of times I feel more love when I'm by myself than when I'm around other people.
Really?
Yeah.
Kristyan, there's a lot of people who could not say that.
Why?
Oh, because I think there's so many people who are absolutely terrified of being alone, and there's also a lot of people who are actually terrified of loving themselves, and they don't love themselves.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. People that don't have self-love and love for the self, and feel they're not worthy of the love and these things. It's a heavy program. I finally got to the point of feeling the difference between being alone and lonely.
Yes.
There's two, okay. They're two different frequencies, because a lot of times I can be in a group and feel more lonely than when I'm just alone and completely in a space of love. I spend a lot of time by myself. I spend the majority of my days without people, and by choice most of the time. And it's where I feel most myself, is when I'm by myself. And I don't have to cater to anyone's vibrations. I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not for the sake of the other person, what they might be feeling or not feeling. I'm very sensitive. So if I'm in a space with a group of people and the vibe's not good, I'll automatically try to raise the frequency to just not have to feel the people's dark, like negative energy. And for me, it sometimes it exhilarates me, sometimes it drains me, and I know that when I'm by myself, I'm responsible for only myself in those spaces, so I can flip myself out of a vibe. If I'm feeling something, I can just, like you said, internalize it, 90 seconds, and boom, it's done. You can either go deep into it and go down the rabbit hole of negative frequency, or you can just say, hey, this doesn't serve me anymore. This doesn't serve you anymore. And boom, on to the next vibe,
I kind of feel like you have a reputation for being very much an ambassador of good vibes. So like people that know, you do. Like people that know you, like, oh, Kristyan, he's such a good vibe. He beams, Did you kind of? Do you feel that there's a pressure that comes with that now? So people are always expecting you to be that guy to raise the frequency of a situation, raise the vibe, raise the mood, bring the party, bring the happiness.
No, I don't feel anything from that. To me, it's just my nature at its essence, is positive, and that's how God made me.
What about when you? Yeah, sorry to talk over you.
No.
But what about when you do feel bad and don't want to bring the good vibes? Like, What about when you feel dark?
Yeah, I don't really feel dark that much, like it's very rare, and usually it has to do with I'm physically not nourishing my body. So it's mostly like a very physical thing at that point, right? Like whenever I'm not in it's because my needs aren't being met is when I go into my negative space, so and I feel that for everybody, if someone's sad or something, it's because their needs aren't being met. And I know what makes me happy. I know what, I've done a lot of self work in my meditation and in my research within myself. I know exactly what makes me tick. I know exactly what gets me happy. I know exactly what, keeps me hyped and full of life, and that, if I'm in a space other than that, then I'm not paying attention to something that's right in front of me. And, at all times, I feel we have the possibility to, feel happy or sad, at any moment. At any moment, every moment carries the complete spectrum of emotions at every single moment. So like, let's say you sit in front of a beautiful sunset. One person could be overjoyed with amazing watching the same sunset. The person next to you could be crying and it bring up something in them that, makes them feel sad, and just inches away watching the same exact thing, it's the reflection of kind of what's going on the inside is what's outside. So if you're not, and again, we talked last talk a little bit about abundance, there's so much abundance at all times everywhere, so if you're not feeling abundant, you're not noticing something that God's trying to give you,
Yeah, totally.
And so then you got to figure out, okay, why do you want to be sad? Why do you need to feel this darkness? And for me, I used to channel a lot of amazing art from my blue side, and from like the way jazz music is, a lot of, and the blues, like a lot of beautiful things can come from it. But on the other side of the spectrum, there's oranges, browns, golds, yellows, and those things can bring a different energy out of us as well. There's like a happy blues, and then there's like an almost blue, and then there's like the blues, so what do you want to feel? What do you want to experience this life? And I feel like we're all driving, we all have our hands on the wheels of our car here, and we're all responsible for where we take it. And some people want to go into the darkness, to the negative energy, and they feel most comfortable there, being happy and being good vibes. And that sometimes it takes a lot of responsibility, to just be like, hey, how's the vibes right now? I'm and, oh, they say, oh, good vibes. Well, I'm like, I don't know. I feel something way different. And like, why, if you say you're feeling good vibes, do I feel something different? And then the expression is what's very important to me these days, is communication and expressing what's going on inside. I used to just internalize so much. And now, I can say, hey, are you okay? I'm feeling this, and this from you. I just want to check in and see, how are you doing? And a lot of times, oh, I'm good. And I'm like, really? I'm feeling this. And then when you start to ask questions and say how you're feeling, then it opens a safe space for people to share parts of them that they would just go, oh, I'm good, or I'm like, Yeah, I don't know about being just good. How about being great? Or how about amazing or this? I do believe in cycles, though. I do believe in cycles. So high tide, low tide, high tide, yin yang, new moon, full moon, waning. Like these different sunrise, sunset, dark night. These types of
seasons.
things, but always good. Like even when the tide's low, you can still feel high. It's where I feel we run into problems is when the tide's low, but we want it to be high.
Yeah, thank you. So expectations
and pre-existing thought pattern, belief system, these things, right? Where I feel like we're always safe and always good and always happy is in the truth, and that to me, I'll take a bitter truth over a happy lie any day.
That's the best quote. I'll take a bitter truth than a happy lie.
Anytime, man. And it might taste a little weird, like medicine going down, but when you really, breathe into it, and the heart knows what it wants, right, and what it needs, and when you really embrace that, it's so special. It's so special.
Dude, it is.
Right?
It is. Yeah. In a way, like, I'm really addicted to honesty. Because it's actually a selfish endeavor, because I know when I am being honest, for me, it's almost like offloading these things that I'm trying to hide to the world, and it gives me a freedom. So I'm actually not doing it for reasons such as integrity, which is logical, but I'm doing it for like, hey, I just want to be free of that shit. So I'm just going to be really honest about it. And I mean, and sometimes it's to my detriment, for sure. And then sometimes it's actually my honesty is being used against me. But I feel, and as I'm getting older now, I'm 43, deep down in my heart, even though life can be tough and has been tough in various ways, there's a growing inner contentment and happiness building. Oh no, fulfillment. There's a fulfillment building
in the growth.
And I look at my mother, who's a deeply spiritual woman, and she has been a whole life, and she's overcome, severe adversity, and she's now in her later years in life, and she's the most, like, free woman I've ever met. She's so free and happy and in herself. And I've witnessed that the whole life. I mean, when I was a teenager, I used to criticize her for being so, she was a Christian, but she actually moved away from the church, and she still believes in that form of spirituality. And I used to criticize for it, and I was embarrassed about it. I was like, I don't want people to know my mum's like a full-on Christian. And but now, after watching her for 40 years and seeing the person that she's become, the rock-solid person that she's become, with a beautifully open mind and nurturing beyond words, I just go, there's my mentor. Thank you, God. You know what I mean? Like, and all the great people. Sorry to get on a bit of a rant here, Krystian, but
no, go.
All the great people in history are all openly spiritual in some form.
Yeah.
They are. They all were. You could probably think of anyone in history and who's done great things in the world, and I guarantee they are identified with their own version of spirituality.
I think it comes, with freedom comes spirituality, and because
and honesty.
And the honesty of really looking, are you free, or is it a illusion? These things. I mean, to me, freedom's really important. and it's a very important part of my spirit. And when you say spirit, it has to do with spirituality, and those are two similar words, spirit and spirituality. So I see my what makes me up into a couple different parts, right? Like there's my physics, which is like my gross anatomy, my skin, my muscles, bones, blood, the air that comes into my body, out of my body, like these very physical things. And then I see my personality, which is kind of the energy that comes off of that physics. And then I see my soul, which is bound by nothing and is continual. It has no beginning, no end. It's just a never-ending story kind of thing. And then amongst all that, I feel my spirit. And my spirit to me is kind of like the physics of my soul, the physical body of my soul. And different spirit and soul, two different energies, completely different,
Right.
Completely different energies. The spirit being what animates the soul, or the energy that's fueling the soul power. So in almost like it's kind of like it's hard to explain, but it's kind of like in a Native American term, like kind of the spirit energy of the being kind of thing. And it's different, because I can feel when my soul is trying to accomplish something, and I can feel when my spirit is trying to accomplish something. And they're completely different energies in my kind of makeup. When I have soul power, it's a process of a couple different things that might have been passed on from a very long time before. And when I have spirit energy, it's a very wild thing. It's like a wild horse, or a lion energy, or a dolphin energy or something,
Would you say it's more linked to character and personality?
The spirit?
Yeah.
Not so much. The spirit being more of, it's a power. It's like an energy power, It's a very it's a power center, The soul's kind of on its own ride, It's like it's been passed on from lifetime to lifetime, and it carries a memory, and the spirit it just wants to be free. So
Gotcha.
whatever that energy comes with, it's completely different.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying.
It's hard for me to explain a little bit and articulate it, but I can explain it to you when I surf, right? So when I paddle out, and it's huge, and it's big, and the soul wants to have an experience out there, but the spirit overrides it, and it'll drop in, and it wants to have that experience where the soul is good either way, just being out there. The soul is content and happy, but the spirit wants to like have a full experience,
Yeah. Okay. Like it activates more the present.
Exactly. And also and also the freedom, it's very progressive, and you see it when people dance, you see it when people make love, you see it when you're making art, or when you're being creative or something. It's a different energy than the soul energy. It's almost like the soul is the body for the spirit.
Yeah, right. The soul is the body for the spirit. That's good.
It's really been playing around with it a lot, and I feel like I'm kind of on the cuff of discovering something with it, because the spirit's bound by nothing. You know, it has no limitations. It has nothing. You know, it's more of a universal, like, universe energy, where the soul is kind of more. It's on its own path.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You know.
Yeah, like I've heard a lot of people say, and I think we spoke about it in our last chat, was, you know, like your children, for example, if you're a parent, like that notion of your children choose you to be their parent, their soul chooses you,
right,
because it's you're part of their greater journey.
Exactly.
You're actually only a small piece of their journey, even though you think that you're like the main part of their life. You're actually insignificant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel it. And then, like, would you say then soul is linked to your destiny?
Completely.
Yeah, okay.
Completely. And the spirit,
so you know how
takes you to that destiny.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It's the vehicle for that.
Got you.
You know, and that energy, you know, I think because of the physics, you know, like when I go back to like the gross anatomy and all that, and like your physical form is what enables the spirit to really thrive or get suppressed, you know?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of feel like when people say, oh, like, you know, they say, oh, he's this, you know, he's in high spirits.
Right.
You know that saying?
Yeah.
That kind of is representing, like, well, that energy is the one that it's manifesting in that at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel it, man.
So when we talk about freedom, you know, for some people that are too free, the spirit might not be happy in that type of, like, too much freedom can also confuse the spirit.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Whereas, like, it has to be balanced. So where sometimes people are so much spirit but no physics, you know, to do it, where they're all spirit and their physical body can't contain the spirit. You know, so and some people they're all physical, no spirit.
So would you say, like, your soul wants you to be an artist and your spirit is driving your sessions?
Exactly. And it becomes like a supernatural thing, like the cup and the container and the cup kind of thing, where if you increase the vessel, if you put energy into the vessel, then the spirit it's like moving from a 1-bedroom apartment into a luxury loft or something, you know. you give the spirit a better house to live in, and so that goes back to these purification things that I do, you know, to clean out the system, clean out the, you know, like when, let's say you get really, like for me, I'm an artist, so I get into these creative spaces where nothing matters except the art. And so I'll paint for 2 weeks straight, and I'll come out of this like, what just happened? And I'll look around and my studio's a mess, and I can't move around it. The energy doesn't flow right. So I'll take a day off or 2 days off and clean the space and, you know, get it so I can make a little area to dance and move some of the papers and clean up the clippings and wash the brushes, you know, clean up the space a little bit so that the energy flows better in it.
Right. And you're doing that with
my
your body.
spirit happy. that enables my spirit to feel freedom again. But it takes, if I always stay in that like creative space, then where, or that like spirit space, you leave Earth, you leave here. Earth is not, you're not here anymore.
Well, does it become counterproductive then?
Exactly. So it's a dance, it's a balance in my experience with it, where one hand holds the other, and the yin holds the yang, and the yang cradles the yin. And so if you can find that symbiotic relationship between the physical body, the soul, and the spirit, and then your outside world will reflect it.
Okay, so what about when two people fall in love? Are their souls nurturing one another and that's why they fell in love? Or is it being driven by a spirit energy of lust or romanticism?
Yeah, you gotta do the research, right? And go in there and look, right? Because in my experience with it, is when you say fall in love, it's different than standing in love and being in love, so so it's nice to fall into it, but it's also nice to be caught by love as well, when you fall, and vice versa. It feels good to catch someone falling into you. And so when two people join together in that space, that's the most beautiful thing on the planet, right? Is like when you get one human and another human, so you have 1 + 1, then it equals 3. And you create another energy from it. And that's the beauty of E = mc² and the atomic power of love. When two forces join together, they mold into one, and then you get the power, like 1 to the 3rd power. And it becomes a, that's how babies are made. That's how angels come through. That's how, bees create honey, that's how one bird can lay 4 eggs, and it's that power to be right. And as a man, inside of our, scrotum, we have atomic power in there. We have the ability in one ejaculation to create a whole country worth of people. And vice versa. In one woman, there's enough eggs to create many lives. So that's the beauty that God gave us, in the sense that we have this ability to multiply and to square the equation.
Yeah.
And it only happens when there's union, and that happens through love. The love for something, the love for someone, the desire for a different existence, for something greater than what's in our world.
Yeah.
That's when the magic happens. That's when life.
Do you think the universe, like, they allows those two souls to meet to create that third? Like, that's not a coincidence?
No, definitely.
Those souls had to cross.
It's a miracle.
When you just sort of said, like, when a man ejaculates, it's like there's enough sperm there for what, like a whole country. And same with a woman. Like, I just had a moment of like, oh wow, like it's pretty serious. Like, it's a pretty big deal. Like, every time, like every time.
It's the big,
like, and are we respecting it as much as it needs to be, those acts?
I don't think so. I mean, it's part of our programming to not really be to not be conscious of that, because if you really understood the full potential and power of it, we might not recreate a new being, right? Like we have to kind of be numb a little bit in there somewhere, or else the rebirth might not happen, or it might happen in a different way. So I believe it's all divine intervention. And, when that's why it's such a miracle when two beings come together to form one being. And then through that union, then you create the next existence, it's such a miracle.
Well, what happens when it was an accident? It was like maybe a one-night stand. Do you think that there was a greater power at play?
Of course. And it's still love in there. There's still a love. It might not be the ultimate potential for love, but there's still love. Even in the one night stand, there's still a love desire, right?
Gotcha. An intensity.
Yeah.
An intensity worth.
The beauty, I think, and what I've been really trying to experience this life, and I haven't yet, but I feel like it's what I'm shooting for is I don't know if you've heard this terminology called conscious conception.
No.
It's when two beings consciously decide to make another being.
Yeah.
Consciously,
I've done that.
Like, but say, hey, this is the moment when I want to create a life.
Okay.
And you say, you usually shouldn't have to say it. It should be just felt and then experienced. And then when you consciously bring a life through, it's different than when you unconsciously do it. So it has that energy behind it, and it's a presence, and it's the completeness of being in the moment. So, and you can do that in any medium. The most powerful is when you do it in with a life, but right now I'm consciously conceptualizing thoughts in a very conscious manner, as opposed to me talking to you thinking I'm somewhere else. And that's the beauty of these podcasts and these things, is it there's a presence with it. We kind of pull in, you consciously pull into the barrel, versus you're like, whoa, I just got barreled. How'd that happen? You're like, oh, the barrel's setting up. Here it comes. I can see it coming. I'm going to consciously pull into that barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a complete difference when you consciously make art, or you consciously decide to listen to someone, or you consciously make a meal for yourself, versus putting some food on the table and eating, but really you're thinking about what you have to do, or there's a different energy with it. And I found myself a lot of times trying to multitask. For some reason, it's like a programming, I think, that comes from America, of like,
why?
Like, I don't know, maybe you feel it too, but I know, like, growing up, we were always like, if you're not working full power, you're not doing your best, right? And you got to be doing your best, right? So
be achieving.
I always find myself like, okay, if I'm like cooking soup or something, while the water's boiling, I'll like be doing something else, waiting for the water to boil, and my mind can be completely into another task, but I'm doing something. And so I really love being here. Like being present,
like here as being present.
Yeah. Like it's one of my favorite things to do, because time goes out the window, space goes out the window. Last time we talked for like 3 hours, and then, an hour or whatever for the podcast. And then you and me ended up staying and talking for like another hour after. And I went back and I was like, whoa, it's like midnight right now. Where did that whole little chunk of life go right there? And it was because we were so present with each other that, time, it's like a time warp happens in that where natural frequencies don't make sense,
Yeah, I think I almost feel like it's the fundamental problem of our world right now. It's because, I know it's cliche, but we're not living in the present, and we are striving constantly. And I do it myself. Like, if I don't achieve enough through the day in terms of practicalities, I often will sit in guilt and go, "Oh, I didn't even finish mowing the lawn or whatever. I didn't finish cleaning the garage.
Yeah,
I wasted my day.
Yeah,
but it's this prioritizing of like, well, I did spend a lot of time speaking to my mother.
Yeah,
and we had a really good conversation. Or I did go surfing and connect with the environment. I did go out for a walk in the forest or the bush. So I think this is the big problem where we're not staying in the moment. And I think, everyone knows it, but no one actually does it.
There's a discontent a lot of times with the moment, with.
But why? Why?
I think because of the potential of humans now, there's so much, we have everything, right? So the potential of being like, okay, you have everything and you're still not here, you're still discontent with the moment, then it's a regridding back into a simpler way of existence, where you're present with what's happening.
Do you think the world is moving towards that simplicity based on the events of 2020?
I think it's forcing people to do it, where before God was like, I'll give you the option, now we don't really, we have less options with that kind of as a broad scheme of things, because the systems that are in place out there and the people that are, think they're in power and these things, like we're subjected to it in some way, and a lot of times we feel we don't hold the reins to our own ship here, and that's part of their programming. These so-called people in power positions, is to strip us down strip us away from what's our own full power,
Look, and I'm actually, for some reason, I've been dealing with a lot of anger around it.
Why?
As we head into, as we head into the second wave.
Yeah.
And restrictions here in Australia have actually sort of stepped up in some ways. And what is actually really not sitting right with me is how comfortable everybody, or how comfortable society is with this erosion of their civil liberties. People are comfortable with it.
But when people had the freedom, they didn't choose to do anything with it anyways, right? So
I didn't think of that.
So now everyone's like, okay, let's take the freedom away and show you what you didn't do with it. When you had the option to leave, you didn't leave. Like, for example, you had the option to stay here and you chose to go back, so now God's kind of like, all right, God's kind of like, I gave you freedom and you chose to give it away. So now I'm going to take it from you and show you what it's like to not have it, so that next time you have it, you appreciate it for what it truly is.
And God, dude.
Right?
You know, it's funny. I actually jotted down a few questions, which is something I'm trying not to do. I'm actually trying not to write questions for the podcast, because to be honest, because I just want to see where it goes. But one of my questions to you is and you've just sort of answered it, was like, can you highlight the positives that are coming out of this erosion of freedom?
Yeah.
And you've just sort of said it. It's like, well, yeah, okay, we're going to take it away. And so, like, okay, let's optimistically say that, you know, travel restrictions are removed and social isolating measures are removed, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I think people are going to be really, like, appreciative of that freedom, right?
I mean,
maybe we were drunk on freedom.
You know, the ones that are, yeah, I don't know, you know, I don't know what's going on with people these days. I don't really understand it a lot, you know.
How are you personally feeling though? Like last time we spoke, you know, it was right at the start of all this. It was like 5 months ago, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously. And like, I can't believe how quick that's gone. And we were both just like,
see what happens.
We were kind of lighthearted about it. Like, oh yeah, this is just a bunch of bullshit. It's going to go away soon. 5 months, you know. And I was like, yeah, I'll be back in Bali in a couple of weeks, like whatever, you know. Like it was just, here we are. So yeah, how are you feeling? Like as you've watched it unfold, and you've watched it transpire into what it is. Are you feeling confusion, dismay?
No.
Give me some feelings, emotions.
You know, I live on an island, so for me, you know, we're pretty removed. You know, the beauty of being on an island is at any time you're surrounded by water on all sides, right? So, you know, it's very easy to kind of shut it down and block the boundaries of it. So I try not to engage too much with the outside world purposely, you know, because it doesn't really make sense for me to do that, you know, in my situation, to get too wrapped up in a storm that's across the world. I try not to, you know, like, for example, I have a closet of winter clothes here that I wear when I go back to California. But when it's here, it just sits there and collects mold in my closet. You know, like I have a jacket that never gets put on, right? But it's there in case I need it, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how I feel with this whole situation, is like, you know, I really feel for the people that are struggling through it. And that, I mean, this has been one of the best years of my life, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
You're the first person I've heard say that.
Oh my God. You know, I'm like,
well,
I've been social distancing for a long time, you know, and purposely social distancing for a really long time, you know, because I can't put myself in social situations for too long, or else I start tripping out too much on people, you know. And then so for me, it's been great. Like I'm more creative than ever. I have more freedom than ever, you know. The waves have been empty over here. There's been no one on the island, and it's like flashback to 1970 out front. You know, I surfed this whole last week. I surfed Ulus with just, you know, 2 or 3 guys out, and my friends, you know. So it's been crazy, and it's unheard of. You know, it's been a dream. And where I run into problems is, you know, I might not be able to see my family again and hug my father. And that you know, that gets psychological sometimes, but I know there's no separation between him and me, and the space between us is just a thought away. But the actual physical of I might not ever go back to America. and I might not ever really go back. I was, if I leave Bali, I might not be able to get back in. So I'm not really going anywhere right now, or trying to go anywhere right now. And Bali, the energy I get is like, stay and be here now, and enjoy the vibe, because it's really magical here right now. There's a lot of people going through hardship with businesses and work and stuff, but like we were saying earlier, maybe they weren't in the right space anyways with it. Maybe they were abusing something that they shouldn't have been in the
Gotcha.
Right. So I feel like, what it's bringing people into balance and shining light on a lot of things that normally people would just kind of brush under the rug, and that's kind of the silver lining on it. Like I said, it's a bitter truth, but when you embrace it, if you embrace this time and really go in, then it's almost like a free time, where you can really go in and learn and clean and study and put out work, and do work in a different frequency. The way the work.
So would you say you've been more productive, more inspired? You haven't felt isolated. You haven't felt stranded.
Nah.
What direction has your art been moving in then lately?
It's just going light speed right now. It's coming
in terms of production.
Yeah, and vibe and frequency. The more is coming out of me than at my highest periods. A lot's coming out. Yeah. And this year I decided to not judge anything that comes out of me, and because it's such a blessing to be able to make art. Art is so futuristic, it comes from nothing. It comes straight from source through you out into existence, and the rest of the existence is forever changed. But it's so futuristic that the audience sometimes it passes by the audience, and it takes a couple generations to really experience it, in the right means. So I stopped going for just making art, and now I'm tapping in more to the art of living, where everything I do is art, from how I get up in the morning to what I decide to do with my morning, to what I put on, to where everything is art. There's no separation now from it. It's not something I turn on or turn off. Everything is an art, from making tea in the morning till praying before I go to bed, to midday. What I choose to put in my body is an art. What I choose to let out of my body is an art. So
would you say though, like those things are being done mindfully and consciously, and that's what make them art?
Yep.
So if you got someone who's just going through their day unconsciously and being dictated by external forces, that's not art?
It is. It's just not their art. It's someone else's art for them. They're a pawn on someone else's board.
Yeah. That's so rad. I was wondering how you're going to answer that. You nailed it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do, man. It's rad.
Exciting. It's like, for me, it's a real exciting time right now, and I get so excited. I can't really sleep a lot. I don't really. It's so exciting, right? Like, it's just,
oh my God, we're the same.
And the potential right now is so incredible. It's like my buddy
for what? Oh, okay.
Just forgot, for life, and to see where it goes and stuff is so exciting.
Yeah.
And
I'm feeling it.
My friend and I sit back and we talk about, we're just sitting back watching the movie and enjoying the show, and to me, I'm a firm believer that God would never give us anything we can't handle.
I love that.
And
you said that last time.
Yeah. So, sometimes it gets a lot, but then when you really sit with it for that 90 seconds, then, you realize like, oh, wow, I could embrace more, or that's too much. I need to back off a little, and you find that balance with it where, is it really that bad right in front of you right now? I don't know anybody that's sick.
Yeah.
Everyone in my circle is healthy and everyone in my circle is happy, and if not, they're reaching out to express it, to kind of crack the code on it and figure it out.
Dude, these are the exact same conversations that I was having 5 months ago with you and others. Do you know anyone who is sick? No. And I still, to this day, 5 months in, I'm going to say it again, I do not know anyone that's sick, and I don't know anyone that knows someone who is sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I think there's a growing frustration there for me when my life feels like it's being so heavily dictated because of this sickness. And I know you're probably going to say, you're like, well, you have a choice in it. Like, you don't have to let it dictate you. You're free. Thanks, man. Thanks for bringing me back in life.
Well, I was listening to, I like to watch documentaries a little bit sometimes, or I like to listen to podcasts when I work, or I like to have some kind of thing going on in the background a little bit, or else my thoughts can get a little bit heavy. So I have some music, or I have something going on in the background for some stimulant. And so I was listening to this documentary about the relationship between Matisse and Picasso, and they were talking about the period in which they made artwork during the war, when the Nazis were trying to take over and stuff. And they were talking about being in their studio working during the war, and it was like, I was like, cool. Like, all the great artists, got an opportunity to create in a space when there was outside turmoil going on or something, and I feel so blessed that I get to be in a space of art during all of this, and I get to be in a sacred space like Uluwatu and Indonesia, through all of this. It really, because I almost got stuck in America when I left. I was getting the download, get out, and I was kind of waiting for some surfboards, and I wasn't ready to leave my father. I was really enjoying the time I was spending with him, and I have a couple close friends over there that I really enjoy spending time with, and the gods were like, hey, it's time for you to go. And so in about a week, I wrapped up all my stuff, packed my bags up, booked a flight, and jumped on a plane to Japan. And that time, from the time I booked a flight, got to Japan, stayed 2 days in Japan, and then flew to Bali, everything shut down. And I made it in literally by a week or two before they shut the island down. And I felt so blessed to have listened to God, and because I had been getting the download for a couple weeks before, okay, it's time for you to go. America is not where you want to end up. Get out. if you don't get out now, you might get stuck, you know, and the COVID thing hadn't even hit yet. You know, it was still like, we were just getting the early glimpses of it. And I think once I got here, it really started to multiply and compound, you know? So, you know, not a day goes by I don't count the blessings for that one. And
it's so grateful. And so you said you've got a new art space happening as well?
Yep. Yeah.
What's that about? Is that because you needed more space, or?
Yeah. I didn't really.
What's going on?
My friend Tim and my friend Brian, they built. I bought an old juggalo, like an old traditional Indonesian house from Java, and had it deconstructed and put in a truck and shipped over to Bali. And
that's awesome.
And reconstructed it on a little piece of land that I leased over here. And
cool.
It's been really beautiful having a proper art space again. I had a big studio when I was living in Ubud, and I sold it and then moved down to Uluwatu to be closer to the water. I always felt a little bit like a fish out of water up there. And now the whole goal was to be by the ocean creating art versus the jungle, and feeling that
you needed that.
Yeah.
You needed that energy from the ocean.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of surprised to hear you say that you felt like a fish out of water in Ubud.
Why?
Yeah, but
you know how the
no, I don't want to, like, because I mean you are a surfer at your core and an ocean lover at your core, but I also feel like Ubud is such a profound creative space for artists.
Very much so.
So I'm a little bit surprised, like, because I also think you'd be surrounded by a lot of other artists, and it could feed off that.
Yeah, it's a very special space for art up there, and there's a different magic up there than by the ocean, you know. And where I live now is just a stone's throw away from the ocean, and also the Uluwatu temple, which is a very sacred temple on the planet.
Very sacred.
And also the temple that's out in the water, you know, is my favorite place to worship. So, you know, I always felt like there was a piece of me missing when I was in Ubud, and the rhythm you get by interacting with the ocean daily, you know, it's a very special thing. My gills start to feel good. You know, my water body starts to feel in tune, and, you know, it's different muscles that come out, and, you know, I feel complete when I'm close to the water. You know, I get confused sometimes when I'm away from the ocean.
You get confused, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it too.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. We've had like a really good winter here in Australia for waves. Like, we've just had swell after swell, and I've just surfed so much. I'm in a space at the moment where I want a break from the ocean.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go through those cycles as well, but I'm just in a bit of a period, like, I'm not looking. I don't even want to look at swell forecasts. I don't even want to.
That's a great.
I just need
it's a great feeling. I definitely don't like to take breaks from the ocean. That's
interesting.
I don't like to take breaks from. Even, you know, some days I won't go out, but I'll go sit by it. You know, some days I won't go necessarily surf, but maybe I'll just go for a swim or go walk in the water, or you know, just put the salt water on the face, or dunk the hair in, you know, and submerge myself
every day.
And for me, it's such a space, you know, for energy. It's like food doesn't really fuel me, you know. Food, it kind of just is something I put in to you know, kind of keep the system running, but it's not energy or nourishment. You know, I get my nourishment from the ocean and from salt water, and being in tune with the tides and the swell and the energy with it. You know, it's something very
Nice.
Yeah.
What boards are you riding at the moment?
A couple of different ones. You know, I've really had to switch my quiver up a lot being at Uluwatu because it's such a it's just a lot of water moving around out there, you know. So I really have to.
Are you going longer?
I am. You know, longer for me is like 5'10", 5'6", 5'3". You know, I've been riding one of my friend Dan, you know, Dan man, he made me a 5'3" a long time ago. And I never really, I don't know if this ever happens to you, like you get a board and you kind of are like, oh, that's cool, you know, but you don't really have that like initial like connection with it. And then my surfing's been changing a little bit being here at Uluwatu, and he made me a 5'10", and it felt almost like a mid-length egg or something compared to the 4'10s, you know, and the 4'4s.
Yeah.
So it felt like such a beast of a board. And I really got comfortable on it, and I've had to really kind of approach the ocean different with it, but it's like a safe thing. Like I blow a lot of waves, you know, with my 4'10". I go over the falls a bunch of times. I miss barrels, you know, but when it all lines up, there's some kind of magic that happens when you get in a good barrel or a good like double overhead wave on a 4'10". You know, you feel, or I feel like I'm kind of defying the odds, or, you know, like going against gravity, or you like feel like you accomplished something that's impossible, you know? And I really love that feeling. So, but I end up missing a lot of waves because of it. So the 5'10" was just like a safe, I could take it out probably from head high to triple overhead and
wow.
and feel real comfortable, you know? And then there's another level out here where you need like a gun. My friend Jake gave me a 7.3 Brewer that
what?
Yeah, I traded him a painting for it.
Amazing.
And that's kind of like a minigun, you know, like I can take that one out when it gets pretty solid, and then I have like an 8.6 when it gets like big out there, and a 9.0 when it gets like pretty big.
Proper.
Yeah, proper, bomby, and outside corner, and you know, big secrets or whatever. And I've never really ran guns, but one time I went out there with one time I went out to the corner with a 4'10", and it was a really big mistake. You know, I felt like if I was kind of in the front row watching the players play and not really being able to get on the court, you know, and it was definitely a humbling experience.
Just too much water moving.
Too much water moving. You know, trying to catch a train with a bicycle or something. You know, you need like a motorcycle or a because there's something that happens out here. You know, I've been in other places where the waves are big, but you can still get those kind of roll-ins. You know, out here, when it hits a certain level, there's like a velocity with the wave where it just kind of is moving. And you know, you need that, either a ski to kind of whip you in, or and
it sort of looks like you could roll into them when it's big, but because the actual water's moving that fast, even though it's not an overly steep takeoff, you can't get in.
You need a little more rail in the water, you know. With those 4'10s, you're basically just sitting on the tail on the fins. You know, you're riding basically.
They must skip. Even then, do they just skip out? Like, it must.
They don't skip, but they, they start chattering for sure. And I love
chattering pretty hard.
I love that feeling, where it just starts kind of chattering and skipping.
And going that fast.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to make sections and draw different lines, when there's not enough rail in the water. But I feel like 5'10" is the magic number because, my goal was always to take off in between where the bodyboarders take off and where the surfers are. That happy medium between.
Gotcha.
Where not so much just tossing yourself over the ledge like the bodyboarders, but also not getting in early like the surfers. That kind of in between space is where I was always like where kneeboarders kind of like, it's basically like standing up on a kneeboard.
Gotcha.
With my goal always. And then it's kind of changed, right? Because you see people toe in, and a lot of the toe boards are like 5'10s, 5'6", 5'8s kind of thing. So you can do it. It's just getting in with the right kind of speed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But it's always fun. I love, I just really love trying new equipment and having new feels. And to me, they're like paintbrushes, on different canvases. Like I have small paintbrushes for certain types of lines I want to draw. I have kind of bigger paintbrushes for fatter lines, and then I have like rollers for, covering big sections. And
so with your surfboards though, because like I kind of identify short surfboards with you now, and even when I spoke to Dan Mann the other week, he said that you were actually the inspiration for that model, the baked potato.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like it's been a long part of your surfing history. These small craft. But are you kind of sort of saying that after spending, extended periods of time at Uluwatu, it's actually drawing a quiver out of you? Like you definitely want more boards for more conditions.
I need to kind of reinvent the wheel. It was so cool working with Dan. He was like the first shaper to really believe in me and believe that I could make equipment that small. And he kind of was like, yeah, we can do that. If you really want to, we can kind of do that, and I came from a longboarding, I started out longboarding, and I wanted to kind of make the smallest longboard I could.
Gotcha.
And that's how it all kind of started. And Dan, I saw Morning of the Earth, and that section where Michael Peterson is on, I think these might be at Snappers or something, or I don't know.
Oh, Burley Heads.
And he's basically riding the front half of his board, and he's just, the only turns he does is to get back into the power section of the wave. And, he's not going 12 o'clock, or he's not doing big floaters, or, he's just wanting to be in the pocket the whole time, or the barrel. And so I took that video to Dan, and I showed him the cover, and I said, I want this surfboard, and we made like I think it was like a 5'6" single fin, big square tail, like a mini log basically. And, and I just wanted to be able to pump from up on the chest of the board and shuffle back and then do turns, but only turn to get back into the pocket. And if you get out ahead of it,
not go up and down, not go
vertical,
top to bottom.
Nothing vertical, like just kind of 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, let's do it, and then we made that one, and it was way too big. It was like, it felt like an egg or a mid-length again, and I said, I think we can go a lot smaller. And then we made a 5.0, and that one felt about right. And then I rode that one for about a year. And then I said, I think we could shave a little more off. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, I think so. And growing up in California, the waves don't ever get like too much, it's mostly fun waves and chest high, you get a real swell over there every couple of years, so so it was a whole different kind of approach to the ocean, whereas here in Uluwatu, you really, God, man, you enjoy the small days so much because it's not scary, the most of the time it's pretty solid,
Yeah. It was only a couple of years ago, a guy from my hometown drowned at Uluwatu.
Oh, God.
And I was basically watched it happen from single fin.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know him personally, but it was like the swell of, I think it was 2017, 2018. And we were there for a bit of 2017. We were there for just a bit of a holiday before I started working over there. And I remember when there was a big swell hit, I'll never forget. And it was like, I'd been surfing a lot, and I've been surfing a lot too every day for the last sort of 3 weeks. And I was like fit, and I actually went and bought a step-up board because like, there's a big swell coming, let's go. And I'll never forget, like I paddled out to, like I'd surfed like, sort of outside corner before when it was like not big outside corner, but big enough for outside corner to be breaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it was just a little bit next level on that. And I remember I paddled out, and these sets capped on the bommy, and like this big wash through set came through, and I had to ditch my board. And I mean, this thing had broke probably 100 meters away anyway, and so I was getting white water from 100 meters away. But it had this really long period. It was like a 20-second period. So it had so much volume, and it threw me under the water like I've never been thrown before. And it wasn't like it went over the falls or anything like that. And I remember I popped up and went, this has got a next level power that it's really hard to understand, and it's really deceptive.
Yeah.
From the cliff, it looks manageable.
Completely.
And I went in scared, and this was the day before the real swell hit. And I remember I said to my wife at the time, I said, I'm done out there. I said, I'm not going out tomorrow. I said, it's next level.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately and sadly, I said that morning, we've got to get down to Uluwatu. It's going to be like in the 12-foot range. And what do you know? Like a guy drowned out there.
Yeah.
And he was riding a 6.0.
Yeah.
Or something around there, So
it's no joke.
It's no joke.
It's no joke.
And I like after living there for a certain period of time, I see a lot of people travel there, although not now, paddling out in conditions they shouldn't be out in.
Yeah.
And I just want to. It'd be nice to see a bit more respect.
Yeah.
Sometime, or maybe a little bit less ego.
I mean that my motto I have with myself is because I definitely have these conversations with myself when it's big, right? And my thing is always live to surf another day. That's kind of what my thing is, right? So, and for me, it's still about having fun, so if I'm not having fun, then I'm out there for some other reason, so I let go of the ego with that. And because I'm, my friends here are the big wave chargers, so I got introduced by Jake McKenzie. He's like, I don't think he's seen a wave that he's ever held back on. He goes on waves that I would not even look at, and he goes knowing that he's not going to make them, that he's going to wipe out, and he just goes, and he was always my friend that introduced so much to surfing to me out here. And also Tim Russo, Tim was the first guy to say, hey, here's a gun. We're going to paddle out. Do you want to come? Here's a float vest. Do you want to come? And it's kind of like, you don't have to, but everything's there if you want to have the experience. And that deception from the cliff is is a real thing, because you're so up above it and you're so pushed back, and the waves are so clean that you go,
Yes.
oh, I'll just sit right there, no problem. And when you get out there, there's moving mountains of water, and there's a big difference, in my opinion and my experience, from like 10-foot faces to 20-foot faces, and up and above. There's a different beast out there with that energy, and
volume.
You gotta kind of stay in your lane. I'm still learning to get comfortable in bigger surf, and it's a lot. I think the fitness helps. A lot of the guys that really surf when it's big out there, they're on the flat days or the small days where I'd be out with some of my small boards. They're out free diving and spending a lot of time underwater. So like my friend Jake is more comfortable underwater. He's very comfortable underwater. He can go down there and hold his breath for a couple minutes and sit down there, and just, he's comfortable. Like there's a different level of comfort he has underwater than I do, by far, and there's a difference between being a surfer and a waterman, and I can slowly start to feel where I need to put my work in to more being a waterman than a surfer. If I want to surf at a higher level, bigger waves, I need to do more water training. And
well, there's so many metaphors for life right there, what you've just said, and that's the beauty of being a surfer, because it does translate into your life. Like even what you said about your friend Jake, he said he's really comfortable underwater, and it's kind of like, well, it's like he's found a peace in discomfort.
Right.
Now translate that to your life. Can you find peace in the discomfort? I know when I hold my breath, just doing like, this isn't what those guys do, because those guys are amazing. But when I hold my breath, doing like the Wim Hof style of breathing, I get to that. You get to that boundary of like wanting to hold your breath for longer, and the struggle starts to come in, and your body starts convulsing.
Yeah.
But the ego tells you to keep holding, and then it convulses, and you have this battle. But I actually hold my breath longer when I let the struggle be. I don't fight the struggle, and I'll gulp with it, and I'll let myself. But I haven't actually inhaled yet, and then I find the peace, and I consciously think about relaxing my face and shoulders and neck. And next thing you know, I've held my breath for another 30 seconds past where I thought I wanted to give up.
Exactly.
And I love the metaphor for life, like find peace in the struggle.
Yeah.
And that's what those guys are doing.
Yeah.
Some people are innate. Is it Jake who your friend who owns Drifter?
Yeah.
Surf shop?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
there's an interesting thing where like the mental, the mind. So going back to what we talked about earlier with like the spirit and the soul and the mental and the physical body. I've gotten to the point where I've been underwater being held down, and I can feel my soul and spirit start to leave my body.
Yes.
And my physical mental consciousness tries very hard to keep the spirit and the soul in the body. It's like, oh, is this our time of exit? And it starts going into like exit mode, where you're like playing with the death vibes a little bit there. And it starts to throw all the signals of you going into that space, right? Like first it'll send all the emergency signals: panic, fright, scared, this is crazy, I'm dead, this is overwhelming, everything you could possibly think of in that spectrum. And then the conscious mind can override that and go into that relaxation state, go into the there's a fine line with it, because if you relax too much, you'll stay down there, You know, if you push it too much,
dance on it,
you'll waste your energy getting nowhere. So you have to relax when it's time to relax and move when it's time to move. And so learning those dances has been really fun. It's been it gets scary sometimes, but also you get a level every time you play in those spaces. You know, you learn something new with it, and it's really cool. Like it's a whole nother approach to the ocean. You know,
yeah, man. So rad, dude. So rad. Hey, listen, what would you say to 21-year-old Kristyan?
Oh, I still feel 21. You know?
I was hoping you'd say that.
You know, just let the ego go, you know, and allow the universe and God to do the hard work, and just be myself, you know, and just be like my true version of myself, you know, without like, we try to do more than we need to a lot of times, you know. I feel like, for myself, speaking for myself, like I, you know, and it's that thing you said earlier of like, don't waste the day or whatever. But, you know, a lot of times, like recently, I've just been allowing the universe to do a lot of the work for me, you know, and letting the powers and the forces that be do the hard stuff, and me just do my part, you know, just do me, like, completely. And gosh, man, I used to do at 21, you know, 21 was a good year for me though. I was like, I had stopped drinking. I was full in yoga. You know, I was like pretty living a monastic life at that point. And I was really deep into my yogic practice at that time. And it was a very daily thing. You know, there was no way I could have ever dreamt up this life that I'm living now at 21. You know, I had no idea that this was going to be where I'm at now, you know, at 21. I was just trying to put my foot behind my head at that point. And, you know,
your yoga journey. And I've got to say, like, when I spoke to you the first time, I was unaware that you were an international yoga champion. Is that right?
I don't really go out of my way to talk about that. You know?
I know, dude. I know. I found out. Someone told me, and they're like, you know, you want. So, like, what was that? Like, I didn't even know. Excuse my ignorance, but I didn't know they had yoga competitions, right?
Yeah, I didn't either at the time.
And so tell us about it. Like, you were the international yoga champion, and you won that in India.
It was in America. And the judges were from India, and a lot of the practitioners were from India, and the participants and stuff. And it was basically goes back to the Bhagavad Gita. You know, it's one of the oldest, I wouldn't say competitions, but exhibitions of human kind of potential. You know, It goes back to Arjun and his teacher. They used to be archers, and the story goes that the teacher talks about, you know, different levels of focus and not being able to shoot your arrow until you see the pupil of the bird's eye and all these things, and who could shoot the arrow into the target, you know, and bring mind, body, spirit connection into a moment, you know, in a as kind of an exhibition of what the human potential can do. So,
gotcha.
At the time, I was studying with a yoga teacher, and he, a lot of times I was the only person in his out of all his students that could do certain postures. I was really, my practice in asana looked like a freak show at the time. I was just kind of could do everything that the human body could do at that time. Like once
Amazing.
I spent about 7 years practicing a certain posture, and then all of a sudden, and I wasn't really getting a lot of progress with it, and then one day something just opened up, and it was the breath. I tapped into the power of the breath, and I moved in that 7th year more in 1 or 2 weeks. My body just unfolded, and it was
from what? Improving your breathing?
From allowing the breath to do the work instead of me trying to muscle into a posture.
Okay.
And it took all this time to learn how the body worked. And then once I figured out how it worked, it all unfolded in like a month.
Wow, man.
It got really, really interesting real fast. And it had to do with me tuning into the breath. So I would take an exhale and my body would just open. And it felt like it was starting to get unbalanced the other way, like too flexible,
Oh, really?
Yeah. To where, I was starting
injuries?
No, but starting to stretch tendons and ligaments and not just muscles.
Right.
And so that was something that I kind of consciously stopped doing
because of that.
Yeah. And at some point it became about balance, right? And being the body in a balanced state. And I was starting to get, most people are not flexible and their body's out of balance that way. I was starting to get out of balance the other way. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
No, see, that's interesting. That's
to where
interesting to me.
My knee joints were just coming in and out of socket, and
no, because the ligaments were just so
I was
stretched.
sitting for very long periods of time in lotus and doing these wild postures with the knees and ankles and it's fine if you're sitting in a cave somewhere meditating, contemplating the belly button, but I still love to be active. I was still like, I couldn't even ride bikes, my knees would pop out, or I couldn't.
No way, dude.
It was pretty bad. But so at the time, my teacher wanted to get yoga into the Olympics because in India they have yoga competitions all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
And it's not like a competition, it's more like a demonstration. And and they judge people on form, flexibility, strength, and body proportions. Are you too flexible in your back bend but not flexible enough in your forward bend?
Are you like a balance?
Yeah, so they're looking for balance. And
you had all that. Yeah,
at the time I was pretty into it, and it was where I was going with it. And I'm a very extreme person. When I do something, I go all in.
Right.
And I go in to where it doesn't serve me anymore. And then I get out of that boat and jump in another boat and I'm all in again, and whatever. So it works really good for learning stuff and discovering new things and that. And then it just doesn't serve me anymore. And I just stopped. And at the time, I didn't really want to do the competition thing, but my teacher was like, you have to. I didn't want to be disrespectful to my teacher. So I just did it for him.
That was the catalyst. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I just showed up and started meditating on stage and doing the thing, and I won, and it was like,
it's the best.
It's cool. It's, it is what it is. And it's not something that I'm like super proud of, but it's also something that I'm just like, oh, that was cool. That was like an experience. And it was a really out of body experience. I felt like if I was in the front row watching myself do the performance, and it was a way to honor the gods and show people what the human body can do.
Well, that was my next thing I was going to say. Like, you also inspired many people, and showed them, the discipline and the passion that you had in you was on display.
Right.
And I mean, that's super inspiring.
That's cool. It was cool. It's kind of, it's kind of counterproductive, like when people don't really realize the history of it, and that they're like, yoga competition, really, and that. And it's like, it's kind of like kung fu or karate, like form competitions and these things, right? Where, it's just like an exhibition of a martial art or an art kind of thing. And I never did it again. I kind of slowly stopped doing so much postures and kind of moved deeper into meditation. They say like asana, or, asanas are like the postures. Yeah. Asana means the seat. So they say the postures are designed for purification, to purify the body enough to where it can sit in lotus comfortably, lotus position. So all these different exercises strengthen and tone the organs. They manipulate the skeletal structure and the muscles, tendons, and ligaments to get the body to sit comfortable in lotus position. So once I found that comfort and I could sit in lotus and meditate for long periods of time without any discomfort, that was my whole goal to what I thought would be enlightenment, and
it wasn't.
It took on a different meaning, like what the books told me enlightenment was different than my own experience of enlightenment, for my spirit and my soul, and for what my body was trying to accomplish this time. Enlightenment is, living by the ocean and having full abundance and having all your desires taken care of. That to me is, and being able to pass that on, is true enlightenment.
Cool.
For me. So that once that stuff started happening, it was, I only do yoga asana practice now when I'm feeling out of balance,
Yeah.
And as a surfer, we, through our lifestyle, we do repetitive motion continuously, so the beauty of asana is you do the counter to balance it, right? And it's such a beautiful system for the human body, and looking into like the human condition. These different postures give you glimpses into what the human body is capable of doing, and the powers that come with it when you can do these things.
Yeah, man.
It's really cool.
Yes.
It's a really cool thing.
It is a cool thing. Like, I know for me, like, yoga has been in my life for at least 20 years, 25 years. But, I go in and out of it. And I think there was a long time there I thought that yoga alone was going to be the solution to all my problems. And I guess I had that realization as well, that it wasn't, and that it was almost like, for me, it was almost like it was a deterrent. It was it was I can't speak properly. Like redirecting me away from, like almost avoidance is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So
well, the term yoga, the word yoga, means the literal translation of it is union or to yoke, like the way a horse yokes to the carriage, or the way.
Yep.
So it's the union between you and God. So
yes,
there's an illusion as if you're breathing, you're doing yoga. Right now we're doing yoga, a limb of yoga.
Right.
So we're sharing each other's philosophy, which is one limb of the yoga, and so it doesn't. Asana, or what we see as postures and what we draw the whole picture of yoga, is just one little hair on the head of yoga. It's just one little aspect of it, and
Gotcha.
In the Western worlds, whatever that means, we stress that side of it a lot. But in the places where it originated, or some of these places where it originated, they do more devotional yoga, more praising God, or karma yoga, or the yoga of action, so there's all these different aspects of it. And my journey with it just kind of switched from one aspect to the other aspect. So I always am doing yoga, when I'm talking to you, it goes back to kind of that art of living, where you're like, you're never not doing yoga. It's how conscious you are of it, of what you're doing is the energy that comes with it. When I'm painting, I'm sitting.
How conscious you are.
Yeah. Yep. I'm consciously placing my arm over here and moving it over here with breath, with energy. And it's a dance with it. When I'm paddling out into the ocean, there's a posture they call mountain posture, where you just stand in alignment with all the forces around you. When I found surfing, it was so beautiful because it was the next progression of the yoga, whereas, when you go sit on a yoga mat or something, you're switching constantly, and the yoga mat is stable, or the space is stable that you're standing on. And you're the thing that's in flux, and you're the thing that has movement and mobility and this. Whereas I kind of got bored a little bit with that when I was at the height of that kind of part of the practice. I was like, I just stand on one foot. All right. Or, I balance on my hands. Okay. And it just became very effortless. And when I found surfing, it was like the start of a whole new act, right? To get the board to be stable, to get the surface to be stable to stand on, I had to generate enough speed to match the frequency of the wave. So I had to catch the space for it to be stable. When we go on land, we're the thing that's in flux, and the land is stable. When you go in the ocean, you're the only thing that's stable, and everything around you is in flux. On land, it's how deep can you breathe? In the ocean, it's how long can you hold your breath for?
Yeah.
Right? So
it is. It was the balance.
It was the balance, and it was the opposite. And I felt like a beginner again. And I always love being a beginner. It's such a fun place to be a beginner, because the potential for knowledge there's so much,
You seem like a lifelong learner, a craving for learning.
Yeah.
And I'm the same. But it has to be done in a positive way, though.
Has to.
Because it can become, for me, it can become obsessive. But I love what you were just saying, just going back a little bit about how you break things down consciously. And you actually gave an example, and I didn't realize you go to that much detail. Like, okay, I'm picking up the paintbrush now. I'm breathing as I do it. I'm moving my hand this way.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're consciously doing those movements, yeah. Like,
Oh, yeah.
in that refined.
Oh, yeah. Way deeper. You know,
Way deeper.
way deeper.
Wow, man.
You know, I can hear the birds outside chirping. You know, you know, feeling the leaves move, even though I can't see them. You know, feeling the earth spin underneath me.
Yeah.
You know, watching the cycles.
Well, my next question then is, like, when you go to sit down to make a piece of art, how much planning of that piece are you actually doing? Are you just letting it evolve every time?
Yeah, it's in the moment. If you're in the moment, the art makes itself. You don't even really have, you just have to get out of the way of it and
right.
and witness it come through you. If you're present completely with it, you know, you become the vessel for the source to come through you, you know, but witness, it's almost like watching, myself from a third person perspective do the art, you know?
Wow.
And that enables me to be conscious of all the minute details, because I'm just witnessing myself. I'm witnessing my spirit and soul make the work, you know?
You said that last time we chatted, you said that, and you've said it again, and I can picture it. I don't know if I've ever really had an out of body experience.
Really?
I've heard people, maybe I have. At the moment, I can't remember, but I've heard a few people talk about it, and I don't, like, maybe surfing, maybe in a barrel where time stands still.
Yeah.
And you're in that complete flow state, but not to the point where I feel like I'm observing myself from another standpoint.
I get them all the time. You know, I really have to consciously put myself back into my body,
right?
Or else, you know, I can just kind of run on an autopilot thing and witness myself do these things, you know, from a overhead perspective, you know, or like from every angle. You can see it from every angle.
Yes.
And I think it has to do with being in the moment, you know. The more you're in that moment, the more you can separate from the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like,
I do know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, the more you're present with, it's like when do you ever play music and you lock in to holding time?
Yeah, okay. That's a meditation.
And you can, like, communicate with the person across from you with kind of different signals and that, but you're still locked into time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
It's a trippy feel, you know, and the human body and the human, like, it's just mind blowing, the stuff that we, you know, we get to experience. It's really wild.
Dude, it seems like you're more inspired than ever, and I can see and I can sense, like, a real deep peace within you. Like, you always seem to have that, but I don't know. Like, I see a real inspired energy coming out of you, and I think it must be given where you are, where you're living, and what you're doing, and you found your space. And like I said earlier, you're the first person I've actually heard say out loud that this has been the best year of their life. You know, I think the world needs to hear it. And I'm going to be honest with you, for me personally, I am still undecided if it has been the worst year of my life or if it's the best year of my life. I actually still don't know. And I'm on the fence right now. I think it's potentially the best year of my life. So,
yeah. Well, it's they all have the potential, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's what you choose to like what you choose to really acknowledge about it. You know, you can either go glass half empty or glass half full with it, you know, and until you hindsight it, you know, then, you know,
Hindsight.
yeah, are you going to make the decision when you hindsight it, or are you going to be like, no, this is the best year of my life, and it is because of this, and this, and you know,
You manifest it,
right, and you create the best year of your life, you know, and I don't know if we said this one last year, but this quote has been so huge for me, and it really was a game changer. And Nelson Mandela said it, you know, and he said, "I either win or I learn, but I never lose."
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So in that respect, like once I really started embracing that quote and that energy with that, you know, the potential for victory in life's, you know, kind of vibes are.
You know, it's funny because Ty Graham said it when I had him on here. He said, I don't know if you got the quote from Nelson Mandela, but he said it really casually in a different way. He said, I haven't made any mistakes, just lessons. No mistake. You know, he said, there's no mistakes, there's just lessons. I was like, fuck,
you know, I love Ty. He's always been such an inspiration. And my first trip coming to Bali, I stayed at his house, and he, you know, here I am, this, you know, kid from California or whatever. And he really helped me out so much, you know, and he really, like, I don't want to say he directed me or anything, but he always let me kind of hang out, you know, and be in the circle of the kind of the stuff that's happening out here. And he's always been a big inspiration. And I really, you know, he's always been kind of a positive figure that I've looked up to and watched as a guide. You know, his surfing ability is incredible.
I love his backhand. I love watching him on his backhand. His backhand carves are so beautiful.
I paddled out the other day at the Bommy, and it wasn't huge Bommy, but it was pretty solid Bommy for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I was on like a 7.4 or something. He's on like a little 5.10, sitting way inside of us, you know, picking off waves, like sitting in the more critical position where you could take a couple on the head. I kind of dance on the outskirts so I don't catch any of the sets on the head, you know, and he just has like another level of comfort out there in the water that I really look up to, you know, and I like him. I think he's amazing, and I feel to kind of be in his presence, you know.
How was the Single Fin Classic the other week?
It was cool. You know, it's just like such a fun community event, and the waves were pretty small, which, you know, for those things you kind of always want them to be pumping, and because the island's been closed down for so long, there wasn't like a lot of international people as much as there has been in the past. So it was really cool to see a lot of the local surfers embrace the spirit of competition. And, you know, you never see a lot of the local boys ride single fins too much, you know, so to see their high level of ability ride these like boards from the 70s and pull off some of the stuff they were doing was super inspiring. Like, you didn't know a single fin could do those kind of turns, you know, and these things. So, it was really cool, and a fun community event. You know, I don't really party too much, so or my ideas of parties are different. So I like the more surfing aspect of it, and the kind of drinking vibes that go on down at Single Fin. It's not really my scene, you know. So I love to just surf and be with friends, and I love to surf sometimes, you know, out there with such a blessing to get to surf that area with just 3 guys out in the water, you know.
Oh my God, dude, it's amazing. Like, I still can't I still can't get over that, you know.
Yeah, it's
So,
really cool, and I feel honored that they let me be a part of it, and that, you know, I was doing.
yeah.
I happened to be doing the liver flush during that time, and I didn't make it down there for the second day of the competition. I couldn't get out of the.
Why? Just no energy?
No, I just couldn't be that far away from the toilet. You know, I was like
No.
getting rid of stuff. You know.
Yeah.
So I didn't make it down there for day 2, but I had fun on day 1. You know.
See, I find I can't believe you're saying that you're doing that, because I'm doing a big detox at the moment as well. Like I've stopped drinking coffee, which has been a really big one for me, because I love coffee. I drink a lot of it, but it wasn't serving me. I felt it was harming me.
Yeah.
And I'm very much going on just like not a particular detox, but just really just a very like zero processed foods.
Yep.
Everything raw, mainly raw. Everything raw. A lot of raw vegetables.
Yep.
And you've actually got me thinking about something to do with that, because the raw vegetables are hard to digest. So I'm not. But anyway, and I'm feeling this calmness that I haven't felt in a very long time. There's a calmness, and I think I need to keep going with it. And I might talk to you later about, you know, your protocol for the liver detox.
Yeah, it's cool.
But listen, man. Oh, go.
No, it's cool. I'm happy for you, man. I get so excited when people start doing those things, because little tweaks make big differences, you know?
And you get to know yourself. Like, I feel like it's a good way to start. Like, I feel like I'm disconnected from who I was and who I am.
Yeah.
And I really find diet is a good way to reconnect with yourself.
Definitely.
And get to know you and getting to know yourself again. And that's fundamentally what you're talking about, really. Like, you're becoming so in tune with your body and its needs, which then connects to your mind and then your spirit and your soul, right?
Right.
And you're starting with the body and working your way back, would you say?
Yeah.
And I again, like, talking to you once again, I feel like you always seem to be you always seem to be that guy who's where I'm at in life and what I need to hear. And I've definitely heard it again. And guess what? There's a new record. Listen to this, right? We've been going now for 2 hours and 21 minutes. Dude, this is officially the longest podcast we've done.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, dude. It's rad, because you know what? It's episode 70. Like, so it's 70. Like, yeah. Every time I get to a round number, like, you know, 70, for example, it's always a bit of a. And I see it as the little landmarks.
You know, I tried to listen to the last one we did, and it's just, I don't know if you get used to it, but it's so awkward for me to hear my own voice that
you get used to it.
Okay, I can't embrace that yet for some weird reason. It's just like too trippy for me. So
you don't understand. I get so much feedback on that episode still.
Yeah.
People still send me a DM and go, "Oh man, I love that episode."
I've been just like waiting for a long flight or something to where I can hear it and not feel weird. But
I had all these.
Yeah,
you haven't listened to it?
No, I can't hear it. It's too weird, you know.
You know, and you know what's so funny? After that episode, it was like all these like yogis from Chula Vista, California started like reaching out to me, and
that's my old crew.
I didn't realize you had. I guess you're really enmeshed in such an awesome community, and they love you, man.
I just kind of disappeared, you know, from all that world. So, you know, I used to interact with all those people on a daily basis, and you know, it was something that was tough a little bit leaving them, but I knew my spirit wanted a different kind of space. So I think any chance we get to share the words with them and me and them, you know, it's a good vibe. I love that community so much. And, you know, it's was so special the time I got to spend with them. And now, we're doing kind of a interacting from far away thing,
Yeah, and I mean, I think they must have really wanted to hear from you.
Yeah.
So that's nice, bro.
Yeah. Hey, I love sharing these moments with you, and I really am stoked on the energy you're putting out through this platform, and I think it's really special. And anything I can do to help support you, I'm all in, man.
Thanks, brother. Nah, thanks. Just any excuse to have a chat with you, man. I love it. And I don't know, man. I feel this very strange connection to you, and you seem to be placed in my life at very strange times. I can't. It's beyond me.
Hey, God is great, man. I think it's mutual, and a lot of times we talk for ourselves to hear our own kind of stuff that we need to hear our own words, and maybe I should go back and listen to that and feel
I think you should. I think you should. I think you should, man. Like, because you talk a lot about being a son, and you talk a lot about parenting, even though you're not a parent yourself. And I think it's actually really profound to listen to the perspective you have on it, and even for parents. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is but the reason I say this is because I think it's very grounding for a parent to hear it, because when you become a parent, all of a sudden you actually do lose and forget the reasons why you wanted to be a parent in the first place.
Right.
Because you become completely overtaken by the day-to-day grind sometimes of raising children, the routines.
It's hardcore,
the tantrums, the lack of sleep, the washing, the laundry, and it was, I think, for me and others, it was so good to be brought back to the core of what it's about. So it's rad, man.
It's a big dream of mine to have children one day, and be able to experience that. And, it's, I definitely take my hat off to you guys. It's such a selfless kind of, you guys are on another level, by far. So I definitely want to try to experience that. And there's another level of joy that comes from seeing yourself reborn, again, and with the combination of another, angel. You get all these angels in the same room, and it's just like I want to experience that.
I love that you call them angels, dude. I love that you call them angels, man, because you know how you've experienced love before. Hey, actually, can I call you Kish, because I hear other people call you Kish.
Yeah.
But is it okay if I call you Kish?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love how you call them angels, because you know how you've experienced love before. You may have been with a girl that you love, or you love your father in a way that no one else can, or your parents or whatever. But when I've found, for me, when I had my first child and my second one, it unlocked. It's like the God or your even your physiology is got this part of your brain that has never been unlocked before, and only your offspring can unlock it.
Yeah, and
that's all it is.
I feel that.
I know you do. And I can tell you do. I can tell you do. And again, I know it's cliche to say that only you have to be a parent to understand. Yeah, yes and no, but you're never going to experience that feeling until you have it yourself.
Yeah.
You can imagine it, but it's better than it's. Yeah, I was watching a couple push their baby today in the street, and that they were just both looking at the baby, and they had this look on their face that only a baby can give you. And it's just it is, man. It's
you can feel that. I feel that, and I'm conscious of that, and there's a couple things left in my life that I want to manifest, and that's definitely one of them.
It's going to happen, I guess. Like I mean, you don't have control over it, and I think it's the one thing that, has to happen in its time.
Right.
Totally. Like
I know that's a part of it too, and if you rush it, or if you do it for different reasons, then you get that result, and that's not the conscious conception that I'm thriving for, that I want to experience. So it's all good. Like when
conscious conception. So I know we're sort of winding down, but you said conscious conception. Like when I've had children, my partner and I were consciously trying to make that baby.
Yeah.
We went into that with that.
Right.
So was that conscious conception? Or is it something that happens more I'm sure there's
different levels of it. You probably know more about it than I do, but without knowing about it, but from my experience with it's like when I'm making love, I can feel the baby on the other side. I can literally feel them right outside right on the other side of the veil, and it's an overhead thing too. It's not like they're sitting next to me in the bed asking like, can we come through? It's like way up in the rafters, coming down through the crown, in through out the, you shoot it out right from the crown through. And so,
wow.
I can literally feel it, and, just haven't wanted to allow it to come through yet, for whatever reason. Because it's got to be I don't
know if I felt that.
Yeah, it's got to be like an organic feeling. It can't be with fear or with ego or with someone else's. Like I felt a lot of pressure from my mother to have a family, and it was like,
maybe you said that.
It was like her dream wanting to come through and her energy pushing through me. And it wasn't my dream, and it wasn't God's plan. It was like, okay, do it right. Do it how you want it to be. Do it with the right intention. Do it with the right partner, with the right time and the right setting, in the right, with the right vibe,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I know vibes. Like I know when the vibe's right, and I know when the vibe's off. So I want it to be the right vibe,
Dude, I honestly think you may be the most in tune person I've ever met.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe don't get out much or something. I don't know, but
No, dude, I love you. It's amazing. So inspiring. Keep doing what you're doing, because I think you're a beacon of hope for many. So I can tell, and I love you, bro. And I thank you so much.
I love you too. It's so nice to get to share this time with you. It's such an honor to be here with you, man. I really appreciate it.
Now listen, man, I'm playing my singing bowl that I got from Nepal, and it's amazing how, like, my parents were at my house today, and they were a bit frantic, and I just stood there and just started doing this, and it's amazing. Everyone just the whole room just went, and they just went, oh,
yeah.
Like they just calmed down. Everything went still.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Oh yeah.
Now listen.
When the bathtub's filled up and you pop the cork and all the water spins out, that's what you're doing with those, with the energy.
So what am I doing? Tell me what's happening here. Like the energy's
you're just
being
shape-shifting the energy in the space and bringing alignment to the planets, and everything comes into alignment when you do that. If you're doing it consciously, if any robot can do that kind of movement right there and make that sound. But if you're spinning it with intention and with as a way to purify, and bring balance back to the forces, then a different tone comes off of that. And when you hear that resonance, it just doesn't go into your ears. It goes in through your whole energy body, and it will
feel it.
It will hit up against anything that frequency will go through, and it will collide with anything that's not of that frequency. And it will either embrace it and let it go in and override it, or it'll ricochet it and send it back.
Yes. I'm going to walk around before I go to bed tonight because it's almost midnight here.
Oh, God.
It's probably late. I know. Where does the time go?
Jeez.
I'm going to walk around the house and I'm going to change the energy of this house, dude.
Yeah.
Now, listen, man, as you know, you've been a guest before. I do ask guests to come with a cause that they want to advocate for. But I didn't sort of talk to you about that beforehand. But is there anything you'd like to advocate for? Because I have one that's close to my heart, if you don't mind if I share it now.
Yeah.
So I want to advocate for Project Nazi in Bali. Sam Mahoney, he is the owner of the juice van, Life on the Juice at Legian, but he's also a school teacher in Bali and surfer. And when COVID-19 hit and the restrictions went in place, he created a GoFundMe called Project Nazi, where they're actually delivering essential items to local people in need. And they aim to raise $70,000, and they've already more than done that. And they are actively providing food to locals, but and it's completely unfiltered money. So that money is literally going into the bellies and the hearts and the minds of those that need it in Bali right now. So get onto the Project Nazi GoFundMe. It's amazing. Please donate a little bit of money, $2, whatever, as much as you can. It will make a difference, literally. And the next thing, dude, is that I usually have a gift for guests. And I don't have – I've got a sticker.
Come on. Really? I feel a little bit short change there a little bit.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I vow to give that to you in person when I see you.
Okay.
Soon.
I'll hold you to that. Okay. Yeah.
And also Indosol have a pair of flip flops for you if you'd like them.
I love it.
I know I tried to offer you a pair last time, but they'll be giving you a pair, and I'll get them to go check you a pair directly because you are in Bali. I'll get Founder Kai Paul to send you a pair.
Don't make promises you can't keep, bro.
No, definitely.
Okay.
So you need a new pair of shoes. They're coming.